I know I have made mistakes, she cried out one night. Please forgive me and give me just one more child so I can marry Mr. Brown. I will do anything, just don't let me end up alone. In the busy city of Abuja, there was a young woman named Mary. She was 23 years old and known all over for her stunning beauty. But what really made her famous was her fancy lifestyle. Mary lived in luxury, all because of the rich men who gave her gifts and money. She thought life was meant to be enjoyed to the fullest, and she was willing to do anything to keep living that way. It didn't matter to her if a man was single or married, as long as he could afford to spoil her. Mary's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, were strong Christians. Her father was a respected elder in their church, and her mother was always helping with church activities. They were very sad about the way Mary was living. They tried many times to guide her back to the right path, but she didn't listen. After many arguments and pleas, they made the tough decision to disown her, hoping it would make her change her ways. But Mary didn't care and kept living as she pleased. She had ended several pregnancies in the past, believing that having a baby would ruin her figure and her freedom. One day, Mary started to feel sick. She went to a nearby hospital where the doctor told her she was pregnant again. Without thinking twice, Mary asked for an abortion, thinking it would be just like the others. Doctor, I want to get rid of this pregnancy quickly, she said, not showing any emotion. Dr. James, the doctor in charge, looked at her with concern. Mary, do you remember the last time you were here? Yes, I do, she replied impatiently. But I am not ready to be a mother, so just do it, please. Dr. James sighed heavily. Your last abortion was very risky. I warned you that it should be your last. If you do it again, you might never be able to have children. It could even cost you your life. Are you sure this is what you want? Mary's face darkened with anger. You are not the only doctor in this city. I will find someone else to do it, she snapped. She stormed out of the hospital and went to another clinic. But the doctors there also refused to perform the abortion, saying the same thing. Mary became very frustrated. For the first time, she realized she had no choice but to keep the baby. The thought made her feel terrible, especially because she had no idea who the father could be. After thinking about it a lot, Mary decided to leave Abuja. She moved to a distant town, far away from everyone who knew her. 9 months later, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. But instead of feeling happy, Mary felt nothing but anger towards the child. She saw him as the reason her life had gone downhill. Determined to get rid of the baby, Mary came up with a plan. One evening, she took the baby to a poor part of the town and left him in an alley, walking away without looking back. She ignored his cries, her heart cold and unfeeling. The next day, she went back to Abuja, telling everyone she had been abroad. In the slum, the baby's cries caught the attention of a passerby. They were horrified and unsure of what to do, but a kind man named John heard the baby's cry and couldn't leave him there. He picked up the baby, holding him gently. When John returned home, his wife, Sarah, was shocked. John, whose baby is this? She asked, her voice trembling. John replied, I found him abandoned in the slum. I couldn't just leave him there to die. Sarah was worried. But what if someone comes looking for him? We don't want any trouble. John shook his head. Sarah, we've been praying for a child for so long. Maybe this is God's way of answering our prayers. Though they were nervous, John and Sarah decided to keep the baby. They named him Michael, believing he was a blessing in disguise. Word about the abandoned baby quickly spread through the neighborhood, and people kept a close eye on John and Sarah, curious to see how they would raise him. As the years passed, Michael grew into a bright and kind-hearted boy. Even though John and Sarah didn't have much, they made sure Michael was well taken care of, raising him as their own son. But as Michael grew older, he began to feel sad about not knowing where he came from. At school, the other children teased him, calling him names like abandoned child. Their words hurt, and he often found himself crying in secret. Meanwhile, back in Abuja, Mary continued her reckless life, not giving a thought to the child she had abandoned. She was determined to find a rich man to marry and secure her future. When she met Mr. Brown, a wealthy businessman known for being generous to his girlfriends, she believed her dreams had come true. Mary quickly became his favorite, and he gave her expensive gifts and money. But as time went on, Mary's desperation grew. She was getting older and still haven't secured a marriage proposal from Mr. Brown. Her inability to have another child made her anxious. She visited many doctors and healers, but none could help her. Mary began to fear that she was being punished for her past actions. God, I know I have made mistakes, she cried out one night. Please forgive me and give me just one more child so I can marry Mr. Brown. I will do anything, just don't let me end up alone. As Mary desperately tried to have another child, Michael continued to strive under the care of John and Sarah. He did very well in school, making his adoptive parents very proud. After finishing secondary school as the top student, he earned a scholarship to study medicine at a big university in Lagos. I want to be a doctor, Mama, Michael told Sarah one evening. I want to help children who were abandoned like I was. Sarah's heart swelled with pride as she shared the news with John. They couldn't have been prouder of their son, who had brought so much happiness into their lives. But as Michael prepared to leave for Lagos, Mary's life was falling apart. Mr. Brown was growing distant, and rumors began to spread that he was planning to marry someone else. Desperate and afraid of losing everything, Mary went to see a powerful herbalist in a far-away village. On her way there, however, Mary was involved in a terrible car accident that left her in a very bad shape. When she woke up in the hospital, she was told that her injuries were severe and she would never walk again. To make things worse, Mr. Brown abandoned her as soon as he heard the news, leaving her alone to face the consequences of her actions. As she lay in her hospital bed, Mary was haunted by memories of the child she had left behind. For the first time, she felt the weight of her decision and the emptiness of her life, but it was too late to undo the past. I am curious. What are your theories for part 2? Leave them in the comments and let's see if you can guess what happens next. Remember to subscribe and enable the notifications to catch the next episode as soon as it drops.